You may be wondering, Stephanie, why are we in your bedroom? Well, today we're going to be talking about an intimate issue that many DMs face in silence. We're going to be talking about CD, combat disinterest. Are we also here because I spent 3 hours making epoxy pour countertops before realizing that I left myself with nowhere to film? Perhaps. Maybe you've spent hours painting minis, making cool terrain, planning out cool monster strategies, and by the time you get to tell everyone those sweet, sweet words, roll for initiative, you're met with yawns and with people getting up to go get another drink and refill their snack bowls. How dare they? To make sure that never happens again, there's one simple trick that'll help elevate your combat to new immersive and cinematic heights. So what turns combat into a snooze fest in the first place? A lot of DMs tend to blame boring combat on the fact that it takes some players quite a bit of time to finally do something on their turns. And while yeah, that certainly doesn't help with anything, the root cause of boring combat runs a bit deeper than that. The number one reason that so many players start to dread combat is because battles tend to become a little bit samey after a while. It's like getting to play Super Mario Sunshine every day, and only Super Mario Sunshine. Forever. It would get old. Some players feel like they're doing the exact same thing every single time they do combat. They're just hitting things until they're dead, only the monsters are wearing different outfits each time. And the problem here is there's just not enough left to surprise and delight players. There's nothing making combat feel new again. So how can we as DMs freshen up combat so that it feels new and exciting without having to entirely reinvent the wheel? Enter alternative win conditions. Alternative win conditions are just that. Ways for your players to win combat without having to just kill things. And seriously, probably 90% of your combats should have this, because there are so many benefits to using them. They give your combat verisimilitude. Like, I'm a bit of a hothead, but even I don't go around murdering people just because they're jerks. And most players feel like murdering over every single issue isn't really something they would do either. But on the other hand, they may be willing to fight up to a certain point or in order to accomplish a secondary goal. AWCs make your combat much more cinematic. Yeah, sure, you can come up with 50 different ways to describe a sword slashing through someone, but isn't it a lot cooler to get to describe your PC stabbing their sword into the hand of the man who was trying to grab for the ring, stopping him? AWCs give more context to a fight so that DMs can be more creative in their ways of describing what's happening during it. They also help your players get to be more creative. Because we as DMs, sometimes we get bored by combat too. There's really only so many times a player doing Eldritch Blast can be exciting. When we provide players with something to do other than just punch them, then our players can do other things than just using whatever their highest damage dealing spell is. Suddenly other spells and abilities and tactical ideas get their time to shine too. So what are some types of alternative win conditions that you can use during your combat encounters? To get you started, here are the 5 that I most commonly use, although there are definitely a ton more. Make sure to comment below with your favorite AWC that you've run, and if you're enjoying this video, please feel free to like and subscribe if you'd like to see my face again. A classic alternative win condition is get the thing! It's such a classic that you may not have even realized you've included it before. And this is simply where both parties try to get to an object first. Hell, it doesn't even have to be an object, it can be a person. One of my favorite combat memories was when another player used Thorn Whip to grab onto an NPC that was surrounded by baddies. That way they could pull them closer to us even though they were causing them a little bit of damage. But it was a spell the player had never gotten to use before because their other spells usually dealt so much more damage, but in that moment, it was so much more than any of the rest of us could have done. Chase scenes are classic movie montages for a reason, and this alternative win condition really gives your players a chance to utilize buffs and debuffs. And it's really great because usually both casters and martial characters get to feel like they're doing something effective. Another cool thing is that it really lets you lean into horde type imagery, which can be especially terrifying for players when they're at lower levels. Like I said, a classic. What dungeon is complete without a cult? And what cult is complete without a ritual to stop? The cool thing about this AWC is that you could even stretch it to cover more interactions if you wanted to. It doesn't just have to be a one-time thing. Like maybe it's a multi-part ritual, or maybe if the players succeed in stopping it the first time, they'll encounter this cult again later on trying to do the same ritual as they were before. Very great for Team Rocket multi-part interaction type of things. This AWC is really great if your players have started to take a particular shine to a city and kind of have an unofficial home base type of vibe going on, but giving this city a method of protection with one particular weak spot. One that's a little more susceptible to damage and breakthroughs will have your PCs fighting like hell to defend it. This one is really great for a high stakes battle, and if there was ever a time for a PC to sacrifice themselves and get to go out in a blaze of glory, it would be now. So I'm a big believer in letting the party split up, because boy oh boy can it really raise the stakes in some situations. For this AWC, it lets part of the party act out as a violent distraction, while 1 to 2 PCs get to accomplish something else, like find proof that the king's advisor had been lying about something all along. And this is one of my favorites because as the fight goes on, there's kind of that implicit countdown for those PCs that went off on their own to kind of get back. So it really has that high stakes feel. And it's a great time to be able to incorporate other types of skill checks, because they'll probably have to evade guards, accomplish other things, while the marshals get to just duke it out. So the players that want to kick butt can, while the ones that want to do something else also can. Win-win. Like I said, those are just a handful of ideas to get you started. There's really so many different things you can incorporate that'll help keep combat feeling fresh and exciting and new. But if you like this video, make sure to check out this one next.